Welcome all. Wow, gunning to Old Trafford here with your hosts Ibi and Shady, and we are at the Doola residence tonight. Amazing stuff. Ibi, bring us in.
Guys, it feels like I'm in a lion's den here, surrounded by all these Arsenal fans. This is why they put me towards the edge of the table, so it's an easy exit out of the house.
Door.
Yeah, easy exit if I need to get out. But amazing segment, guys. Finally, a big Arsenal contingent, fourth generation of Arsenal viewers here from the 80s into the 2023s with this guy here. Amazing stuff. Abdul, the introductions.
Wow. I am so excited. If you guys don't know, one of my favorite uncles, and I've got about 4 or 5 of them, but Naeem Doola, avid Arsenal supporter, and I got a small story for you guys. Naeem has been, growing up, Naeem has been one of those uncles that really made me fall in love with Arsenal. I've never ever said this before, so I'm sure it's a shock for you as well. But Naeem was one of those uncles that really made me feel that Arsenal was the place to be. Right? On my left, I've got Yasin Doola, and on my far left, Akil Doola. Welcome, guys. Brilliant to have you guys on the show. And we're going to have an amazing segment. So, brilliant stuff.
So, now we're going to start off with you, because I think from all of these guys here, you're probably the youngest. So, we'll start off with your journey with Arsenal.
Sure.
You know, growing up in the 80s, or watching football in the 80s, you know, you had the great team, the great Liverpool teams, and I'm sure he's laughing on the side because the only time we're going to talk good about Liverpool. But the great Liverpool team of the 80s, Manchester United with, Brian Robson, coming in from West Brom. What made you incline towards Arsenal of all football clubs?
Look, I grew up in a time where most of our exposure was going to CNA, going to Max Books in the plaza, reading the magazines that came out, because nobody could afford them. They were British magazines. Yeah. They televised the game maybe on a Saturday afternoon, and I say maybe, it never happened very often. So, you had to plan in advance to watch these games. School books had pictures of all our favorite players. Nearly everybody was a Liverpool fan. Nobody was really a Man United fan at that time, because they hadn't won the league for about 20 to 25 years. And by the time they won, it was 27 years that had elapsed. So Liverpool had this great side. I mean, I'm talking even before the Barnes and Beardsley era. They had the sort of players that you wanted to watch. I mean, Ronnie Whelan, Houghton, Ian Rush, John Aldridge after that. I mean, they were amazing footballers. You can't forget Dalglish as well.
Of course.
And I was just surrounded by these sort of guys, watching football, reading all the material that was available. First person I think that where my love story with Arsenal began was with David Rocastle. I just had this admirance for this guy,
Wow.
He was a humble guy, he was a hard-working player, but everybody wanted to be him, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't naturally gifted. In fact, he had an Achilles heel. And one of the coaches noticed that whenever he ran with the ball, he was in a hunch position. Never took long passes, always passed close, never shot from outside in training. And this guy asked him, what's the issue? What's the problem? Takes him to the halfway line, and he gets 2 guys to stand in the post. And they asked him, so how many people do you see? He says, no, I see one. The first thing they picked up, this guy has eye problems. And he just didn't want to say that because he was rejected by Millwall as a child. So that made him the first footballer to ever play with contact lenses. That's a fact.
You didn't know that?
Yes, first guy to play with contact in history of professional football. And I always followed him. Unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 33.
Yeah.
He had non-logic.
I think we were robbed of a real superstar.
No, he really was. Look,
amazing.
I think it was past his time in it, but he had cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was terminal. At the age of 33, it's a tragedy.
Yeah, 100%.
The other player that drew me to them, and I just feel he's very underrated. Nobody ever talks about him. I don't think my kids have even heard about him. Paul Davis.
I've not heard about him. So.
Yeah, it was 447 appearances.
447?
Yeah, for us, no?
Brilliant.
And you switched on the TV, you watched, and the guy you were hoping that makes a difference was this guy. And history is just forgotten. So, He's won 2 leagues with him. He's won 3 FA Cups, 2 League Cups. I mean, he was a loyal servant of the team, Paul Davis. I really liked the way, or the sort of player that he was. He was like on minimum wage or something, but in those days, the deals were done very different.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't like that. It was just an honor to play, man. And,
amazing stuff.
and I always try to explain to my children there was no such a thing as contracts. There was a certain thing called respect. The coach was the coach.
100%.
The boss was the boss. These days, 3-4 players get together and they get the coaches out, man.
It's so
There's a certain aspect of football that we have lost.
And we've seen it happen over and over to some of the greatest coaches, huh?
So to some of the greatest coaches.
100%.
Now move on to like a guy like George Graham. There's no dissent in his camp. You don't question him. It's as simple as that. I mean, he was Mr. Arrogant. He wore those 2,000-pound suits, drove the fancy. His cousin was extremely well dressed. He was he was debonair, and you don't question him. What he says is what he says.
He's the boss.
And Wenger deserves all the credit he gets, but I think it began in the George Graham era. I think
he set Arsenal up for a good trajectory.
He really did, eh?
And that's also an amazing segue just to move forward. George Graham. And then you speak so passionately about George Graham. Let's go back to 1985 when we had Don Howe at the wheel, right? Moving forward, we get into 1986. Arsenal, Peter Woolworth, David Dean looking for a man for the long term to coach Arsenal. Obviously, Ibrahim, like I told you before, Alex Ferguson from Aberdeen, Alex Ferguson was on the cards. Terry Venables as well, at that time he was at Barcelona, was also on the cards. However, we go with the Scottish George Graham, and George Graham really upscale Arsenal. If you can just tell us those few years, remember in 88, 89, 1990, 1991, he gets 1 and 2 leagues. I mean, he wins the English Premiership with I mean, he has David O'Leary there, aging David O'Leary, but really holding their defense together. And then he gets a certain Ian Wright coming in from Crystal Palace. And things start really moving in a direction you want at the football club.
No, of course.
So George Graham, give us a little bit of George Graham and how was he as a manager? You just said now he was this.
No, he was astute.
He was something else.
But
So,
I have to put you on the spot. Did we miss out on Alex Ferguson?
I don't think so because okay. Yes, yeah. No. But I tell you what, and this is it. So that's beautiful. We have this question and we keep on asking it. If Alex Ferguson in that area had social media by his side, would he have survived all of that? And we come to a compromise and we say, you know what, at that time we never had so much of social media, and that gave Alex Ferguson the chance to really get a hold of Manchester United. But I'm saying in today's time, if you had Sir Alex Ferguson, and struggling those first few years at Manchester United, I don't think he would have survived.
So what I'm going to say to your question, and I know what you're asking, Abdul, like, if you could go back, would you choose George Graham or Alex Ferguson? I'm glad that you guys went for George Graham because they just pushed United in the right trajectory, right? And to Abdul's point, if social media was around, yes, Ferguson wouldn't have survived the scrutiny, because we see it nowadays, right?
Yeah.
A hashtag goes like Potter out, Lampard out, and you get a few fans behind it, and the younger generation will know better. Once you start trending on socials, your days are numbered.
Yeah.
So Ferguson, I'm glad you didn't go to the Arsenal, because the rest is history from Manchester United. But I mean, today is not about us; it's about Arsenal. So.
Yeah, but that was a loss, obviously. I mean, he's won like 14 leagues with Man United or something like that.
No, amazing world-class manager, and I mean, the respect is always there. I personally, after Arsene Wenger, that's my all-time favorite manager.
I honestly believe that if you made him the CEO of Coca-Cola, he would have done a good job.
Yeah,
100%.
He had the culture of winning.
He had a different mentality.
Yeah, his mentality was win. There's no second place. Second place is as good as the last place. You know what I'm saying? And I love that about him. And I mean,
he's a winner. He was an absolute winner.
But look, coming back to George Graham, I think he done a fantastic job. Those 2 cups that he won and in the style that he won it. I mean, it goes down in history. And you talk to younger generations, you watch latest trends, and they'll always say the greatest final day in Premier League history is Aguero scoring, Man City winning, Man United not winning. I disagree with it, and by a countryman. I mean, George Graham's second league win, Liverpool
2-0
at Anfield, playing against Arsenal, 3 points ahead, goal difference, 1 difference. 94, Alan Smith scores. 91st minute, Dixon gives the ball upfield. From Dixon, goes on to Alan Smith. Alan Smith rolls the ball for Michael Thomas, and he puts it in the back of the net.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Wow.
And I mean, I think I was watching with my dad at the time, 14th Avenue Mayfair.
Oh, amazing.
And we like screaming, and everybody's running out of the rooms like, how did that happen? You know, it's like, I'll never forget that moment. It's probably the greatest moment ever. Michael Thomas becomes like revered till today. Liverpool hate him. But there's another fact, and I'm sure most of you guys don't know this. Who did he play for after Arsenal?
Was it Liverpool?
He went to Liverpool.
Are you serious?
I promise you.
I didn't know that.
He's probably the most
I didn't
hated
know
player
that.
in history at
Wow.
Anfield. They signed him up. He says when he scores a goal, they cheer for him and they boo for him at the same time.
Brilliant.
And you know, it's like 200 games he played for Liverpool
Yeah,
after
that
that. And it was
that
quite a
was for
success.
you.
Wow, yeah, I'm sure.
207 games at Arsenal.
Wow,
And
absolutely amazing.
that's a moment in history we'll never forget. And what makes it even more dramatic is that it's the final championship. You know, the next year the Premier League comes
yes,
into
yes.
play. And and I think from there, I think that George Graham just couldn't adapt to it. I think there was new money coming in. I think what he did well in the 80s is that Arsenal was one of the first few teams to bring in players of colour. You know, that was the issue in the late 70s, early 80s. Many players or teams didn't want to do it. Everton had a chance of signing Ruud Gullit and Maradona. And based on race, they didn't take them. And that's the truth. Everton was the last team to adopt it. I mean, I was in matric.
Sure.
And Amakachi is the first player to come to Everton. I mean, it's years. I mean, Randy Cunningham played in the late 70s in the British League. You know what I'm saying? And Real Madrid bought him for £1 million. Unfortunately, he died in a car accident months later. Yeah. That was terrible. But I mean, Arsenal was one of the very first few teams who didn't look at colour. You know, you laud them for that. You know, and you're happy to support the team like that.
Sure. Absolutely amazing. European Cup Winners' Cup, 1993-1994. Tell us a little bit about that. Because it's a huge trophy in the Arsenal cabinet.
Yeah, it's huge. It's not huge enough.
Yeah,
you know, we're still
yeah.
chasing the Champions League. And look, I think there was a great effort coming from them. I think it was the swan song for George Graham. It was towards the end of his tenure.
It was.
There was a League Cup in between, the FA Cup after his last league win. I think that was a big feather in the hat. But he couldn't keep it on up after that. And I think, you know, the flavour he injected, he'd run his course. Yeah. I think it was about time he went.
And before he soured his legacy as well, right? I think it was the
right
right time for him to...
Yeah, he had a lot of, his personal life became a bit of a highlight. The team also had a few issues. Paul Merson, Tony Adams, substance abuse, addiction. Look, at the same time, a lot of them have become inspirations to many people, you know. But it was about time he went. He wasn't a flexible person. You know? But you have to be grateful for what he's done for the club.
100%.
Bruce Rioch came in, I think it was for like 46, 47 games.
Uh-huh.
He done pretty well. And many people may not know this as well, but Johan Cruyff almost got the job.
Ooh, before Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, the bookies had him. And I mean, Arsene Wenger, newspaper comes out, the Sun, the London Times, the Star in South Africa had it on the back page, a picture of the London Times. The headline of Arsene who? I'll never forget that, and a whole lot of question marks.
Wow.
Who the hell is this guy? How's his name Arsene? You know what I'm saying?
Coming to, you know, as a
Arsene
youngster,
coming to Arsenal.
as a youngster growing up, I always thought Arsene Wenger owned Arsenal.
Arsenal.
But then I realized
it was
he's just a coach and
it was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
And you know, that I've got a few notes on top 10 signings of Arsene Wenger. And I know most people are going to say Thierry Henry. But there's a Ballon d'Or winner in there. He signed a Ballon d'Or winner. George Weah. at Monaco.
George Weah, yeah.
He signed
That's
George
true,
Weah at
George
Monaco,
Weah.
you know.
He was brilliant.
You know, he was brilliant.
Arsene
Arsene
Wenger
Wenger
was-
is a student of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean now as well, you know, he's given up obviously from a coaching perspective, but still giving back to the game, you know,
Yeah,
trying to adapt football, heavily involved from FIFA's perspective as well. So I think he'll be there till as much as he can give into the game.
Look, and I mean, he's influenced other sports as well. Major League Baseball. He's a huge influence in the way that they've changed their league around. And there's a truth behind it.
I don't know
The
that.
Brad Pitt movie Moneyball.
Yes.
So the character he plays, his strategy is around how Arsene Wenger would approach. You must read the book on the guy who really
You know
done
how-
it.
Moneyball,
Moneyball, Mohamed Shahid Abdul
spoke
spoke
about it
about
as
it.
well, and how
And it makes sense,
FSG, the Liverpool
Liverpool.
owners, have adapted that model for their success. So it's amazing to see that come full circle
Absolutely
from English
amazing.
football
Yeah.
to MLB, Major League Baseball, and back into English football.
Look, he's
It's
very
amazing.
respected, and as much as we love him, and I think he's put us on the map.
Of course.
You know, we have a lot to thank him for.
Mm.
But he's also given us a lot of pain. And you know, I don't want to be blasphemous by saying it, but there was a time where him having a doctorate in economics, his primary concern was how much money the clubs make, so
True.
what sort of a stadium they built or how they sustain themselves. And at the price of trophies. And what we've learned in the modern era, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You flop out now, somebody else is buying your team. And you probably don't want to sell because the Arabs will make your team stronger. It's as simple as that. I mean, if the Arabs were to buy from the Glaciers, you guys will be the happiest guys in the world.
Very, very
So, you know, we don't really care how the financial stability of these teams are. We're proud to a certain extent that Arsenal still does belong to British owners to a large extent. You know, I think out of the 20 clubs or the 5 top clubs is the one with the highest percentage of British owners, and that's something that makes us proud in that sense.
Of course.
Now that we're talking about Arsene Wenger, and I want to bring it back a bit, right? Because I think this for me was prime time for me as a Manchester United fan, right? Sir Alex Ferguson obviously flying, you know, having the great battles with not Brian Robson, Bobby Robson, and what was the Newcastle coach's name?
Kevin Keegan.
Kevin Keegan.
Yeah.
You know, having some epic battles, but Manchester United, you know, just seeming to get, you know, that little bit ahead of steam against them because Ferguson's got this mentality drilled in. And then Arsene Wenger comes in from Japan, right? He had his stint in Japan, came into the Premier League, and like you said, Arsene won, right? And I think that rivalry just sparked something into Alex Ferguson at the time to just push United onto the next level. Do you think Arsene Wenger pushing Arsenal to win the 98 Premier League, you know, Ferguson took it a bit personal and said, listen, I'm going to push my team, and that's what led to the treble.
Yeah.
I think that was a catalyst to Manchester United winning the Premier League. I don't know your thoughts on that.
Look, I mean, in a good way, Alex Ferguson's a sole loser. And that's a great attribute to have.
100%.
Because, I mean, he's a born winner. I mean, if you look back at him in his playing days, he was a striker. I mean, he was aggression. He was an attacking player at Aberdeen. So that's the way he thought. I mean, if you look at it, we don't want to digress into Man United. But I mean, they've been an amazing influence on the league. My dad and I watch, and we bloody hate these guys. And every game these guys win. The 93rd minute, the 94th minute, half the team can be injured. They'll pull out the win. And you know, it's so memorable when they lose. I can tell you on which days they lost and who scored. And you know,
I hurt you guys so much.
yes,
Yes.
you know, I'll never forget Alex Ferguson. Sometimes, you know, he lose with no grace at all. Matthew Latassi tearing them apart. And his excuse is Man United's kid clashed with the advertising. You know, he come up with an excuse. They were outplayed.
Always took
you
it
know.
away from the players.
He always took it away from the players. He was amazing. Throwing the boot at Beckham. I give him kudos for that one. You know what I'm saying? He'd had his run-ins with his players. You know what I'm saying? The greatest man manager in history. You know, they said the famous hairdryer, he screamed at every player except one, Cantona.
Yeah.
Because he knew that guy won't win.
Cantona wouldn't.
You just leave him alone. You know?
And the magic will come out.
And the
automatically.
magic will come.
And he did. Amazing.
They brought the culture of winning. Arsenal transformed the game.
Yes, they did.
You know, we'd watch every game. I mean, two cockroaches kick the ball, we'll watch that game. In the 90s was like that. And the problem with British soccer is that it was too British.
Yeah.
They kick, they run, they scream, they playing
Hard girls,
it was they had the upper crust of talent. It needed an infusion of foreign players. Arsene Wenger started to show them that you need to diversify the game. You need to take it to the next to the next level. It just had to happen, and he didn't do it it didn't cost him a lot of money. And if you look at the Invincible side, the back four line cost 4.1 million. Their salaries. I mean, these guys went on a 49 game streak, unbeaten run, 49 games. How? He buys Nicolas Anelka for 400,000 and sells him for 29 million. He buys Mark Overmars, I think, for nothing and sells him for big money. You know what I'm saying? And the club started making money and the club started winning matches. And he just had an eye for these sort of players. I think something that helped him as well is the 98 World Cup. France. Him being a Frenchman, bringing Petit, Vieira, bringing some fantastic
made it easier
players.
for the English fans, the Arsenal staunch fans to accept
these guys. But you have to also give him, I give him a lot of credit. He walks into a side. There's an aging Tony Adams. Tony Adams is making the headlines for drunken driving and abuse and drinking and every substance known to man. England pushed on with this guy because he was such a great player with all his issues. I mean, I promise you, in the old days, you look at the previous generation, it's the Sunday Times Extra.
Yeah.
In the Sunday Times, the back page is dominated by Tony Adams. In South Africa, there had to be an article. It was that bad. Because he was captain of England, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Wenger walks in, and he thinks his career is over. And he says he has a 10-minute talk with this guy, and this guy tells him, eat what I tell you to eat and sleep when I tell you to sleep. And I'll give you an extension on your career.
Oh, man.
I mean, he won another league, you know what I'm saying? He won another 2 FA Cups. He gave him that.
Exactly.
Ian Wright also thought he was towards the end. And Ian Wright made a big contribution to what the new side was. He never made it to the Invincibles time, but he won a league after that, So he knew how to manage these guys. He knew how to manage these egos.
And I think that's what a football coach needs to be. Apart from coaching, you've got all of your assistants, you've got all of the technical teams behind you. But if you're not a good man manager, you're not going to take your team anywhere.
No, of course, and I think it's in every aspect of life.
100%.
Whether you're a father, a manager in a business, or you're running your own business, you need to be able to manage people.
100%.
And you believe if people can work well and in fear, well, you're never going to know what the ceiling of their ability is, you know what I'm saying? And he realized that.
100%.
This is a beautiful segue, Naeem, just quickly. Your favorite, and we're having these arguments a lot about Manchester United Paul Scholes. We spoke earlier on, and please just enlighten Ibrahim and tell him what you feel as an Arsenal supporter of Paul Scholes.
Well,
Paul Scholes, listen to this.
Liverpool will always talk about their legend. What's his name again?
It's Steven Gerrard.
It's Steven
But
Gerrard.
it is in our pocket.
I'll never forget
Here's it,
the
and case
interview
closed.
with Paul Scholes and Steven Gerrard. And the question comes up about league wins. And you just see Scholes smirking. He's trying to hide it. Because he's won 11 Premier Leagues.
I know which one you're talking about.
11 Premier Leagues. These guys don't believe me yesterday. Was the day before. The guy won 11 Premier. That's impossible.
Man.
We talk about Arsenal greats. This guy won 3 Premier Leagues.
Yes.
That's 11.
11.
He's not even the highest. He's got 13.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I think by the 6th Premier League, it's like, okay, do we even have to celebrate?
And he's better than who? Who did you tell me he was better than?
No, people laugh at me.
Yeah, listen to this.
But when I watched football at the time, I honestly believed he was on par, probably better than Zidane as well. Zidane may have had the skill. He may have been graceful. I don't think he was as effective as this guy. I honestly believe.
Finish. The argument is over.
Watching this.
He's upset.
It was going to be an argument
the
between the
debate
guys.
anymore.
It's over.
Gerrard Scholes
It's settled.
debate settled by Naeem, a neutral party in this entire thing. All Scholes is the winner, hands down.
No, I think honestly, I think
Gerrard's a
Lampard.
great player. Lampard was a great player, but Scholes was on a different level.
Yeah, he was in a different level. Look, he wasn't as he didn't have the same celebrity status and all that. I don't know. He wasn't. How do I say? He was a simpleton, he was a humble guy.
Correct.
He didn't get his 500-pound haircuts and
Exactly.
We were watching
Just
Obama
not-
and get the haircut the other day.
Oh, man.
So I comes to the house and like, what the hell? How much does he pay for these haircuts?
It's like a guy in there every
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know when they make those patterns and stars? There's no template. The guy does it by hand.
Yo.
I can't believe that. Eh?
Ridiculous.
Wow.
And I mean, like Paul Scholes, he
I
drove
was
us.
just telling Abdul about schools. Sorry, I cut you off there. But I was telling Abdul about Paul schools. One, when he came out of retirement the second time, when the Pogba era happened, he came back to play against Manchester City. He didn't call Nike for a pair of boots. He went into Sports Direct, bought a £100 pair of boots, put it on and went to go play football.
Yeah.
Simple fellow, man.
Yeah,
And that's
no,
what,
that's
I
how
mean, he
he
could have had whatever boot he wanted, right? But he just walked in, bought the boot, went out and played, and was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
No, he is. Even Ryan Giggs, you see the amount of money that guy saved is unbelievable. Jurgen Klinsmann drove a beater. When in the 90s, when we watch football, everybody's coming with Porsches and Ferraris, and that time Aston Martins were a big thing,
Yes.
Comes with a beater, man.
Wow.
Brilliant.
300 pounds or
Amazing.
200 pound car, Brian. It's just, that's all I need.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think before we move on
Yeah.
to the newer generation, the last one.
Go for it.
And we touched on it a little bit earlier. We like to go forward and come back.
And back.
That invincible era. We were watching it the other day when Arsenal robbed Manchester United 3-2 at the Emirates. The invincible team went on amazing runs, right? 49 games unbeaten, ended by Manchester United, by the way.
And the pizza.
the
And the pizza
game. This current team of Arsenal, if you had to compare them toe to toe against the Invincibles, right? This team is on track to outscore them in terms of points, in terms of wins, in terms of everything, right? If they carry on. If they do that and they win the league, this current crop of Arsenal, would they be better than the Invincibles?
No, they lost the match already.
No, but besides it, they
They're
drew.
not
The
invincible.
Invincibles drew a lot, right?
Yeah, they did try.
But in
Yeah, but
terms
they
of
didn't lose.
quality of football,
No.
still Invincibles.
You think the Invincibles were?
Look, I don't see a Pires in the side. I don't see a Vieira in the
Ooh.
side. I see some great players. I see a lot of potential. I don't see those two. I just don't see those two players.
There's no Thierry Henry.
There's no Thierry, man.
Doesn't
Look,
get you.
I was four.
Isn't get yeah?
I was four when Arsenal's were like the Invincibles, right? But technically, if we get more points than them this season, wouldn't we be better? Isn't like the point of the Premier League to get the most points?
Yeah.
I mean, we lost like one game.
True that.
Yeah, but then what you're trying to say is that Chelsea is the greatest side ever because they won with the most points. They're the only team to score 100, isn't they?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Well,
Yeah.
then
They
they
play the
have to
most
be in
boring
the debate,
football
yeah.
ever. How could they be the greatest? They do, you know.
No, they do. But look here, guys.
I mean, just to put this debate to the end, the greatest Premier League team ever was Ferguson's 98-99 squad.
For a single season, I would say Invincibles. Consistently, it would
Ferguson.
definitely be Man United. Man United, they've dominated it. They've dominated like Liverpool dominated World Club football in the 80s,
Oh,
in the late 70s. I mean, we go to Wimpy in Forsberg, you'll sit and you'll watch a Champions League final, Juventus, Liverpool. The game's over by halftime. Liverpool was that good. They played Barcelona and it was like
Nothing.
it was an
They
easy
walked
game
about
for them, yeah.
But
It
they were
was.
ballers.
So they dominated, but I don't think it compares to the Man United. Like, I mean, this last 5 years of Liverpool has been great. They won 1 league. There's nobody going to come out today and say, I won 13 leagues. I won 11 leagues.
Very difficult.
And Liverpool has been great.
And
you know.
where the longevity, I think, is important.
Yeah, and it's for a set of players that gave their lives, man. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Next, Akil. This one's for you. Right, Akil has been waiting, right? So, Akil, when I look at Akil, he reminds me so much of myself growing up. This boy is passionate, man. He's passionate personified. Akil, quick question for you. Yes or no? You can tell me a bit more. Arsenal taking the league?
I think they can. It's because that we only lost one and
Mhm.
two. We just need to carry on. That's the thing. What if we flop?
True. Okay.
I like
That's
this
good,
guy.
like
man.
that.
They're not easy. Look at it. You heard it first. Gunning to Old Trafford. Akil Doola. We're winning the league. But what if we flop? Okay.
And your prediction for this weekend?
Yeah.
No, not this weekend, the Man City game.
On
Friday night.
The FA Cup
We
game.
need to destroy Haaland, man. That's the only
But
guy.
don't you think City Papa can do that? Silly
You
Bappe.
can. You just need a big guy that
You
can
need a big
defend.
guy. I think Silly Bappe is the guy.
I think what you guys need to do is give Ten Hag a call and
Yes,
ask him how to manage Haaland, because against United he was nowhere, right?
He was
and I think
nowhere.
it's just about understanding the. And I don't know. I mean, I know this was about Arsenal, but the discussion we're having, I think, is flowing all over.
Yeah, I know, it's fine.
It's amazing.
Haaland, brilliant footballer, breaking all sorts of records. I just feel that Haaland in City's team makes City a worse team than without Haaland.
That's true.
And then playing without a direct
Agree.
striker.
Yeah, that is.
I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah.
They played better.
They've
with the
lost
false
that emphasis of holding the ball and really
Playing the tiki-taka
tiki-taka football. Now it's they just want to give it
Yeah.
to Haaland all the time.
Also-
Look, it comes down to money, man. They spend the money, they need to use it. It's as simple as that. The salary is huge. Sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah. Also, before when they had Jesus, they were much better. It's true though.
True, but
Yeah,
listen,
100%.
how's Eddie Nketiah? How's Eddie Nketiah?
Was offside, man.
Was he offside?
No,
He
he
wasn't
was on.
offside.
He
He was
wasn't offside. He
wasn't offside.
He wasn't offside.
He was
I just
on.
can't believe it.
Yesterday, today when I went to school, yesterday, everyone was saying to me, Zinchenko was offside. Zinchenko was offside.
Okay, he wasn't, right? So the phase of play moves forward and he was definitely not offside. Remember, guys, don't forget, like, share, comment, hit that bell notification, and Akil just asked if Zinchenko was offside. Don't forget, the preview is coming out. No, the review, sorry.
The review already dropped.
The review dropped this evening at 8 o'clock, and in this review, we dissect and we analyze how important Zinchenko was for Arsenal on Sunday. Amazing stuff. Zinchenko was
He
amazing.
should have won man of the
Amazing.
match.
He did. He was man of the match.
Oh, he
Was
did?
He did. He
Wasn't
was
it
man of the match.
Saka?
Yeah.
No,
No,
it was
it
Zinchenko.
was Zinchenko.
Because in the interview, I see Eddie Nketiah giving in to
Yeah, I think that was a Premier League one, but for Sky
For the
Sports,
Sky was
and everyone
Zinchenko.
Zinchenko.
Was it Zinchenko? Oh, it did deserve it.
He
Yeah,
deserved
it was amazing.
I mean, that
Yeah.
guy just brought some other
Akil.
passion to
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Amazing. Akil. Mikel Arteta. I mean, Yasin. Sorry, I'm so
I'm looking over there.
Yasin. Mikel Arteta.
Amazing.
Tell us about what he brought to Arsenal. I mean, his first meeting with the team was to bring the love for Arsenal back, working on the club's DNA, and obviously bringing back the fans. What has this done to you, especially this season?
I mean, I was Arteta out at first, I won't lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he got us
Not the
8th
oldest.
place twice and then a 5th place. He did win us an FA Cup, but everyone has Arteta out. I'm sure you were.
Speak the truth, Abdul. Speak the truth, Abdul.
I haven't. Look here. I wasn't Arteta out, but I'm going to explain it
I
again.
wasn't Arteta in as
I
well.
wasn't Arteta in as well because I said at that time it was a good time to get Petri Vieira in. I mean, we never got Petri Vieira, we got Mikel Arteta. Why not? We're on top of the table. You know what I mean?
That's in just
So-
to jump in there. And if you go look at our first episode on Coming to Old Trafford,
He called me,
Abdul
Yasin. He called
said
me.
it and he's lying now
He
here
called
on camera.
Arteta.
Abdul said it. Now is the time to cut ties with Arteta and go in for Patrick Vieira.
True, that was my word.
That was
That
the
was my
start
word.
of the season.
It was logical
But-
to say so.
But
At that time.
football opinions
Yeah.
change, and I think that's it.
Performances
You
change,
must
yeah.
be able to change with performances.
Yeah, no, of course. Patrick Vieira, I don't see him being a fit, even at the time. I just don't see these young guys being compliant to him.
No.
He seems like a bit of
A hard man.
He's a
like
hard man.
Roy Keane.
No, Roy Keane shouldn't coach anybody. He must sit in the studio. I think he was a great player. I honestly believe he was.
But a manager.
I just think he's too aggressive with
Too
a
aggressive.
person, man. He's straightforward. Now we got a question for you, Norman.
Oof.
Anthony, he's gonna cut it.
So
I can see some magic. I can see
I think
deep
he
down.
will. I think Anthony, brilliant footballer. I think we overpaid for him, first of all.
Yeah.
He was available to us, but this is Glazeronomics, right? They tried to go in cheap, but they ended up getting skin for him, right? 40 million pound player at best, we paid 100.
Yeah, see.
Ridiculous. We were skinned. Van der Sar and the whole Ajax board probably gave each other big bonuses, taps on the back for selling for that price. But now that we've got him, and like you said earlier, we don't care about the economics. We leave it to them.
Then another owner will come.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's not our money.
Yeah.
We just want to see the best players playing in these clubs, right? One, I think Anthony needs to get his confidence back. Two, he needs to start using both his feet. He can't really rely to cut on his left. That's
Yeah.
how they found him out. And 3, this is not the Eredivisie.
Yeah.
You can't slow down the game. You need to have the confidence to run with the ball.
Yes, yes.
And he's got it in his locker, but I think he's nervous because of the pressure that he's under. But like you say, there's magic, and I think he will blossom. And Ten Hag will get the best out of it.
Look, I won't lie, I was scared leading up to the game against Man United. I was scared of Anthony. But the way Zinchenko was playing, Anthony has a lot of pace. He should have taken him on a few times.
should have taken
He did lack a lot of confidence.
He
didn't.
did it, and I love that you brought it up. Amazing.
What he did is he just pushed Zinchenko back
Yeah.
a bit, and then he passed it back to his players.
And Zinchenko loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
Zinchenko was just
He
floating.
didn't have to do anything.
Zinchenko was floating the whole
Left
game.
it
He was
up.
floating.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you guys play on the counter, right? So you guys were so fast, and then as soon as you pass it to Anthony, he slows the game
This
down.
is broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he runs, but he doesn't pass it.
Exactly. He cuts in, and then he plays a back pass.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to be
And
more
Casemiro
confident.
not being there also, I think,
He's a good
hurt
player,
us,
eh?
hurt us a lot.
A fantastic player, that guy.
Now I'm going to ask you a question, and I think we can end on. I mean, last question before
Last
we get
question,
into
done.
predictions for you guys, right? Casemiro party. And don't give me a biased Arsenal's view, because I know you won't.
No, it's
No,
Casemiro.
I'll take Casemiro.
It's Casemiro.
Honestly, I believe
It has to be.
I think
There's
by
no
a tiny
party
margin.
without party. I'm joking.
No, by a tiny margin. I think Partey is a world-class footballer. I think he's a bargain.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, compared to what you guys paid for Casemiro, Casemiro's class. That's Real Madrid, man. The cream of it.
Casemiro has
I
won
mean,
like 5 Champions Leagues.
You know, Liverpool played Real Madrid in those Champions League finals. Liverpool doesn't lose a game at home for 3 years. All these statistics, and it just simply got outclassed, man.
Exactly.
You know, Benzema and him. Real Madrid is this unlimited pool of money, and if you were to offer some great players in this world a no salary can play for free, they'll probably run to Real
To
Madrid.
Real Madrid.
Because Real Madrid, you know, Bellerin. What do you think he's earning? What do you think his salary is at Barcelona?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think he earns a week?
Bellerin,
Yeah.
Back the Bellerin.
what, 150, 160?
What do you think?
About around there.
8,100 pounds. He's on 8 grand a week. He's earning what the guys in the championship are earning. He says not everything's about money.
But when it comes to the Premier League, they want the big.
Yeah, they want 250,000. He
Yeah,
earns 8 grand a
Bellerin.
week. 8 grand a week. Because it's an opportunity to play for Barcelona.
So guys, debate ended again. You heard it here. Casemiro over Partey. I'm loving this Arsenal family, man.
You like it, eh?
I need to come here more.
Welcome
often.
to the
Yeah,
family.
yeah, I love
I
it.
told you guys, Arsenal Football Club, you love us. You either love us, you hate us, but you love watching us.
So, guys, before we end the session and get into the guys' top 11, we're going to run quickly and we'll start off. Abdul, we'll go with you last. We'll start off with Akil
Akil.
over here. Akil, prediction for the season. Does Arsenal win it? I know you said they could flop, but be a bit confident there. Can Arsenal go on and win the Premier League?
I think Arsenal can go.
Come on, you Gunners. That's my boy.
For Akil, I'm
That's my
hoping
point.
Arsenal go on to win it. Just for Akil
Done.
now. Naeem,
After the last 2 results, I think we'll take it there.
I think these two are potentially the scary ones.
I
Tottenham
think-
and United, and you get over them, and it looks like you guys a draw against City, and I think this is over and out for you guys.
My concern is that Everton's in the corner. A change of coach, a coach gets sacked.
That
These
new
teams,
manager
these teams usually win the first game after they
Yeah.
get a coach sacked.
True
You know?
that.
That usually does
And what
happen.
you guys could have loved is that if the game was this weekend, but it's FA Cup, so you only play next weekend.
Yeah.
But then they should have someone in place already. The
That's-
new manager
yeah.
bounce.
So it usually happens.
And it looks like Bielsa is coming in. A tricky coach to play.
Tricky,
against.
very,
Hell of a- the guy who sits on the cooler box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
it's
Goodison
hell of a-
Park, I mean, the way he plays, he's going to liven that place up
Yeah.
big time soon.
Yeah, see,
We are going to win the league.
we are going to.
Yes.
Did you hear
We
that?
are
I mean, who's
going
playing
to-
better than us? City.
They're not playing better.
They're not.
They're scoring more than you guys, but they're not.
They're not playing better.
I think Arsenal are playing the best football I've seen in a long, long
Yeah,
time.
they're
Amazing
playing
football.
well.
Abdul,
Ibi, bring the Coca-Cola, let's cheers on it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
are the champions this year. We are the champions. Let's cheers on it, man. And they're playing absolutely amazing. I like Akil also, you know, you get those bad games here and there, but these boys are just amplified. They're playing with so much of confidence. I mean, most of these games when they go one down, they just breed. I mean, they're a different breed. Mikel Arteta is really amplified them I mean, they're like wolves, man.
amazing.
I mean, Bakayo Saka, Mfana Futi, Gabriel Martinelli, Edin Ketia, the Wizard of Oz, Martin Odegaard. Need
Yeah,
I
it's
say more?
amazing.
No,
Need I
amazing.
say more?
And guys,
Amazing
as a
stuff.
United fan, if not United, then Arsenal.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you,
Massive
CR7.
respect-
Thank you
Massive
so much.
respect for you guys. And I just want United, Ferguson, to only be the coach to win it 3 times in a row. And he needs to stop Pep, man. So,
That
if
will-
not United, the Arsenal.
Thank you so
Guys,
much. Amazing stuff.
Naeem, family, that was amazing. Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
guys.
No,
It was
it
amazing.
was amazing. We
brilliant.
enjoyed this, man.
Wow.
And guys, don't forget, we still got 3 11s coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. And Abdul,
With it, guys, don't forget again, by the fans, for the fans. We love your guys' interaction. Slide tackle into those the comments field and Doola.
you know, we used to say for the
Yeah.
youngsters, we used
They
to tell the
slide.
guys, slide into our DMs. And then somebody told us, you
We
guys
used to
say
slide
slide into the
tackle.
DMs, a rough thing to say.
Yeah, yeah.
We
So
got
slide
told,
tackle,
we're a
yeah, yeah.
different generation, so we say slide tackle into the DMs.
Amazing stuff. So, guys, we normally end it off like this, and I'm sure you guys know because you guys have been watching.
Yeah.
On 3, 2, 1, we're gonna go gunning to Old Trafford. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. On 3, 2, 1, we are
Gunning
gunning
to
to
Old
Old
Trafford.
Trafford. Thank you guys. Bye bye.